What is up, cinephiles? Welcome back to Screen Kings. For today's video, we'll be finally discussing the final film of the Netflix Summer Slasher event of the year. Here's our review of Fear Street Part 3, 1666. Now, by the end of Part 2, Dina, played by Kiana Madeira, has finally reunited the hand and the lost body of Sarah Fear. And in effect, she was taken back to 1666, where we finally uncover the truth of what really happened on the whole curse that covers Shady's side. Now, I'm happy to be joined by a recent friend that I made on the YouTube, Del. Hello. From Delboy's Movie Mash. Okay, so I'm really excited for us to talk about this because I know you've been watching this, so I think this might be a good idea. We're also doing a spoiler review, so the discussion does not end in our non-spoiler review. You have to head to Delboy's Movie Mash channel for our spoiler talk. But for now, you are safe. I did love this film. You said you like it, but you didn't love it. So let's get on to the things. So what do you think about Part 3?
It's a mixed bag because I did enjoy it. I feel they're all good, all three of them. It's just a few things disappointed me, and I didn't watch the trailer to this. You know, like at the end of the 1994, I watched the trailer and I felt it gave away too much of the second one. And you and me being such big film geeks, we analyze everything and we literally gives us so much away. So I didn't watch this trailer, so I had nothing going in. The first thing that disappointed me was I didn't like the characters playing the old characters. I wasn't happy about that. I wanted new characters. I don't mind if it was Dana. I don't mind if it was her looking through the eyes of the witch, but it's just all the other characters in there. I was like, no, it's only a nitpick, but I didn't like that. In general, I loved how it looked. I thought it looked great in 1666. They really looked like it captured that medieval type Salem witch trials type thing. And I thought, yeah, top notch for that. But I mean, what did you think?
Well, I did like that they're using the same cast here. The likabilities of the characters from Part 1 and Part 2 are carried over in Part 3. Just because I miss these characters, especially Kate and Simon from Part 1, I do like Part 1 more than Part 2. I can definitely see the angle of the writers and the director here because they want somehow the investment that you have for this actors and actresses from parts 1 and 2 to carry over in Part 3, especially that love story of Dina and Sam. And once again, we played that LGBT love story. You might be thinking that they're just doing it just to include some diversity to the mix, but it is essential to the story, which I really liked. And I have to agree with you in terms of visual aesthetics. I do like that Part 3 is less of an homage than Part 1 and Part 2, because Part 1 is more of that Scream vibe, that 90s slasher horror nostalgia and those neon lights. Then Part 2 is more of that camp slasher horror, Friday the 13th, you know, the strobe lights. And Part 3, none of those glowy aesthetics. It's more toned down, it's gray and brown color palette. It's not the most stylish and it's not the most flashy cinematography and style, but I do like it, especially that we're finally getting to know the whole story here, and there's some subversion of the tale that happens here, which I really like. And yeah, something happens in the middle part of the movie, which we're gonna save up for now, and I do like that the movie, it brings back together into a full circle, just on a narrative level. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, it's hard to talk about it in a sense where the spoilers are, there's quite a few, but they're not big deal. Some of them are so obvious, but to say certain things, it's hard to talk about it in a sense where you're talking about the halfway mark and stuff like that, and we can't really go into it right now. But I will say is, look, the LGBTQ thing was, I felt like the diversity in the first one is great because we're in 2021. And please, people don't take me wrong, like, you know, I love diversity in it. It's just, I felt like that was a bit poor, the reason why they were caught. I mean, it just felt like it's hard for me to talk about without the spoilers in it. But, you know, I will say, though, in general, I thought this movie was actually enjoyable. I would watch it again for definite. Dina, I liked her character more on this than I did in the first two. I didn't like her in the first two, but she grew on me on this. So I will give it that. I felt more connected with her on this. Yeah, and I felt what she was going through. I didn't feel she had so much of an attitude on this, but she was essentially playing someone else anyway. In general, I would recommend all three of these movies. They're fun. I keep saying it. I said it on my other videos. These would really benefit coming out around Halloween. You know that?
Yeah.
They've got that Halloween feel to them. Do you notice that kind of a Halloween popcorn movie that you can just sit back and switch off to, you know? What did you think of the soundtrack on this? There wasn't much because they kept it in 1880.
Yeah, there isn't much, and I guess I liked it because it's all about creating that atmosphere, and I like that, again, part 3 stands on its own. I mean, pretty much can be said on its own films, but
yes,
the third film has its own distinct style that this feels more like an appropriate horror film because this is actually a true account of what happened. And Dina, I have to agree with you. I felt like her love angle with Sam in part 1 is a little bit half-baked, but in part 3 we get to see more layers from her. And also for the character of Sam, well, I still believe that the character of Sam remains to be a supporting character in service of the character of Dina, but I was generally rooting for them more. Kiana Madeira here, I think she is a star. Like, I would want her to get more projects after this.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. There's more for her to be in. I reckon she has a good career ahead of her. There was more layers to her and her relationship in this one. It just felt a natural thing this time. I wish that wasn't the whole plot point. I wish it was in it, but not the main focus. The other actors, the young lad Josh, he was my favorite throughout. He wasn't in it as much in this, but he still, I don't know why, I just liked him. He was my favorite character in the first one. They're all in it. Just felt like I wish it was a new set of characters, but you know, it's just that's just a nitpick. You know, after about 2 minutes, I forgot about it. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, oh, he's him, or oh, he's him, or oh, there's him, and I was like, you know. But yeah, I feel like Netflix movies are hit or miss. Sometimes they're just awful, and sometimes they're good. I would put this in the good, definitely. This is definitely some of Netflix's best movies in a long time. These are all based on characters from the books. So I believe, my opinion, there will be more to this. Maybe not this specific story, but because of the success of it and the CGI and the blood effects wasn't as much on this. And I feel it benefited from it because we concentrated on story. There was a better story on this than it was on the other two. I'm still trying to not say spoilers.
Okay, so let's touch on the themes then, because what I like about part 3 is you can see more of that generational trauma passing from one generation to another, and I felt like it's an inspired choice to use the same cast again just to make a point that these are the characters who are suffering and who will continue to suffer in this endless cycle of violence. That's what I'm getting. So I really like the choice here. And when it comes to themes of men being afraid of something, they're trying to rewrite history. I really like that. The subject of homosexuality, because back then in 1666 we have more backward beliefs. People are being punished or associated immediately that homosexuality is a work of the devil. So I do like how it tries to bring out some of the wickedness of the people back in the past to shoot that back into this current landscape. Of course, there are still some people who are homophobic.
1666, the word homophobic didn't exist. If you were gay, you were a witch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, like, it's tough enough since beginning of time, but back then, it was just a no-go. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, they done their job well in that sense. I believe that they loved each other. I believed it. You know, like, you ever watch something where I didn't believe it in the first one, but I believed it in this. So would you say this would be your favorite of the three?
Yes, this is actually my favorite just because I am impressed. For a slasher movie, I would have to say this is groundbreaking. I know that's a bit of a grand word to attach, but just to have these 3 films released every week, and to have Janiak's vision translated on screen and having the producers to have faith on her, I think that's a big gamble for their part. And overall, this franchise is a success for me. This franchise started off as an homage, to reunite all the horror lovers. If you're from the 70s or 90s, you can see a lot of references, but in the end, this story has actually something to say, and it has a good story on its own with a lot of surprises along the way. So I was pretty much satisfied, especially that rivalry between Shadyside versus Sunnyvale coming into a different context, learning why the people of Shadyside are miserable. And there's a reason for that, which we will get to learn in part 3.
It's definitely worth a watch. I still preferred the second one. Even though I'm a 90s kid, I should have enjoyed the 90s one more because I knew all the music and the games. I still have it. I would say this would be my second favorite of all. I just love the 70s feel from the last one, and that kind of Camp Crystal Lake feel. I did like all that. That was why I probably a bit more nostalgic reason. But yeah, I will say this is good. I would recommend it. That's all I have to say for this without spoilers.
Okay, I'm going to give my rating now. Again, I love this, how it all wraps up. There's attention to detail from parts 1 and parts 2, and all of my questions are answered. I mean, it's not perfect, and I think there's some ridiculous things that happens on the latter half, but I will just credit that to self-awareness of the genre, that it needs to have fun as well. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5. I especially like the part where one character poses the question that what is something to be feared, evil itself or the wickedness of your neighbor. There's a lot of things to ponder about this. How about you?
I would give it a side thumb. Normally I'm up, side
thumb, come on.
Yeah.
But that side thumb is leaning a bit upward.
No, yeah, it's more up than down, but not quite, because when you watch the spoiler review, I'll explain why more.
Okay.
Little things like that. You see, I read into it too much, and I probably shouldn't, but it's the way it is. But yeah, I do recommend it, and I mostly agree with you.
Okay, so that's it for our review of Fear Street Part 3, 1666. How about you guys? Let us know what you think on the comment sections down below. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, give this a like and subscribe to us for weekly content. Del, thank you so much for guesting in the channel.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you so much guys for watching. Until then, we will see you on Del's channel for the spoiler talk. Bye.